Hey guys, welcome to our channel. So today's video is going to be about tips for Epik teachers based off my experiences in Epik. So tip number 1, always be prepared for surprises. Honestly, there's this saying called Korean surprise, and what Korean surprise is basically sometimes you might get an extra class that you didn't know about, or a class is going to be canceled. Just something that, you didn't know about, and it can happen literally at any time. Like sometimes for me, based off my experiences, during class, the schedule suddenly changed, like in between the middle of class. So sometimes the schedules could change from 45 minutes to 40 minutes, and sometimes subjects switch, or co-teachers take the classes from you. So always be prepared for surprises, because even though the schedule says this, it can literally change at any day or any moment. Number 2, always have a backup lesson. So because of schedule changes, sometimes you might end up teaching the same class twice in 1 week. So you should always be a week ahead, just in case if you have to teach another class twice. Usually I always have an emergency game as a backup lesson, because if not, you're kind of screwed. So always be prepared with an extra lesson, just in case. So tip number 3, always be ahead on English camp. So with English camp, usually there's one in the summer and one in the winter. And I understand with the school year, you can get really busy and think, oh, I can just push it off a little bit and come back to it. But English camp is a lot of work, more than you think. English camp is equivalent to about 1 semester's worth of work, because it's about 20 different PowerPoints taught in a period of 5 days. So always be ahead of camp and try to think of ideas and plan early. If not, you're going to be using your weekends and your free time at home planning camp. And I've done that before many times, trust me, it is not fun. So be ahead on camp. Tip number 4, be prepared to be lonely. There are a lot of native teachers in Korea, and Epik is a very established program, but just because it's established, that doesn't mean that all Korean teachers and staff are welcoming you with open arms. This is probably a problem because of language barrier, and some teachers don't know how to communicate with the foreign teachers, but in my case, it's a little bit different. I can speak Korean, and I speak very well for conversational Korean, but still some staff has not approached me, and still it can be hard to have a relationship just because of our cultural differences and the fact that they're really busy. Since I'm the native teacher, sometimes my job and responsibility is just to teach English, and usually I don't get involved with other things that are happening with the school. In Korea, age gap is a huge thing, so sometimes it's harder for the older or younger age knowing how to communicate with you because of your age. Tip number 5, your students and staff will not always like you. So you know how students are. Students, they're young and they want to do what they want to do, and sometimes that doesn't correspond with what the book does or the lesson does. So just be prepared that you will have, students talk behind your back, or sometimes, say mean and rude things about you. If you don't know Korean, you probably won't hear much about it. I understand a lot of Korean, so sometimes I hear from other students or other staff and overhear what they're saying, and sometimes they think that I don't understand, but in reality, I do understand. Remember, you are a guest in Korea, so your expectation is just to endure it. I don't think it's the greatest method to endure it, but it's their country, so that's what you just have to do. And also, I recommend not talking about your problems to other staff, because sometimes that can cause more tension in the relationship. So just smile and nod unless it's really, really severe, because usually people don't have time to deal with those kind of social issues. Okay, and this is my last tip. Tip number 6, always remember who you are. With your co-teachers, some of them have studied abroad, some of them have not. In English, I believe that how you word things is very important. But in Korean, sometimes the wording is different and it's more appropriate, but when you translate it to English, it's not. So for example, my teacher told me that I am the school's property, meaning that I am the school's responsibility. But instead of using the word responsibility, she used property. And personally, for me, property is kind of like that they own me, and I understand they're responsible of me, but I just personally didn't like that wording. Just remember that even though you're an English teacher, that's not who your identity is. I just felt with my school that my only job was to teach English and not be involved in anything else. Like, we have sports day at my school, English spelling bees, and field trips, and because I'm the native teacher, they just view me as to stay at the school, teach camp, and teach English. Usually I wasn't involved in any school festivals or activities outside of teaching compared with the other teachers. I was involved in the school festival once, but that was the only time I was involved in any school activity outside of my teaching English. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm only here to teach to correct mistakes. And sometimes that can be the case, but it's different school by school. So I just think it's important to be prepared for that. And remember that you are not just an English teacher. You know, you are a person here as well, trying to explore and to learn about a new culture. Anyway, these are the 6 tips that I thought would be very helpful for Epik teachers now or Epik teachers that are incoming. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!